I'm Carrie and this is Keep It Simple DIY. Today we're making 3 desserts that are great for the fall or even Thanksgiving, and these are all going to be pie related but not actual pie, so we don't have to make any pie crust. These are going to all be bar shaped so they can be individually portioned out and put on a platter, super cute. So we're going to start with some pecan pie, and I'm going to make a shortbread crust first. So we're going to need 1 cup of flour. I am cutting this recipe in half because I think we're gonna have plenty of things to eat. So we're also going to take 1/6 of a cup of sugar, and then 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and then 3/4 of a stick of butter I'm going to get in there, and then that's all we need for the shortbread crust, which makes it so easy. This is so much easier than a pie crust because we don't have to then roll it out. We can just take this and like stick it right in our pan. So I'm going to cube this butter in. Now the 3 bars that we're making today are going to be pumpkin, apple, and pecan because those are the flavors of the season, and they're all going to be pretty similar in the fashion that we make them, but they're going to taste completely different. So let's get this butter in here. I do have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. It's not quite there yet, but it's working on it. Okay, we are going to cut this butter in, and that's all it is. That is our crust. So once the butter's cut in, we can press it in, and then we do pre-bake the crust for about 20 minutes. I love making bars like this because they are so simple and they always come out so fantastic. I've made tons of different bars. I haven't actually made any of these ones. I think maybe the apple ones, but I think I might have done the recipe a little bit different than it called for, and they're always such a hit. Okay, we have that mixed together. Let's put some spray in our pan so it doesn't stick, although it is butter, so it won't stick too badly. Now I'm using a small pan because I'm having the recipe. We're gonna dump all of this in here, which it does seem really dry, so I'm interested to see how well this works out. I haven't done this specific recipe before. But we're gonna press it in. Okay, we need to put this in the oven for 20 minutes, and while this is baking, we will make the filling. We need 1.5 tablespoons of melted butter for this filling, so I'm gonna get this butter into a dish and get it in the microwave. This filling starts out with 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So we're gonna do 1/2 cup and then half of the 1/2 cup. And then we also need 1/2 cup of corn syrup. So what I'm gonna do is take this spray, and that way my corn syrup will come out. We need some vanilla, the butter, and then 2 eggs, and then we will mix this together. This is so simple. We just mix, and then we're done. We have to still add in the pecans, but that's the last thing. All right, let's stir in these pecans, and then we're ready to get started on the next one. I'm going to set this aside until the crust comes out of the oven. This next recipe starts off pretty much the exact same. We're gonna start with 1 cup of flour and 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and we are making apple pie bars. Great way to make apple pie without having to make a whole pie. So let's get this sugar in here, and this one does call for a little bit more butter than the last. Yeah, and no salt. So we're gonna get a whole stick of butter in this time. So this recipe, even though it seems to be about the same ingredients, it is a half size of the other one. So the other one, I had to cut it in half to get it to be in like a small square. This one calls for a 9x9 pan, so that's perfect. Okay, let's get all this butter in here. We're making a bit of a mess today. All right. Pastry cut these in the exact same way. And then this one only needs, I think, 15 minutes before we add the remaining ingredients. All right, I have quite a few big pieces still in here, which I think is fine. Let's get this spray. My hands are messy. And then this one's going to have a filling and a topping, but we're going to use all of this for the crust. Spread it out, and then we'll push it in. Okay, let's get this one in for 15 minutes and start on the filling. The filling requires 3 apples, which we'll get out in just a second, 2 tablespoons of flour, and then some nutmeg and cinnamon. And I'm just going to eyeball these. And we're going to basically make an apple pie filling without having to do any cooking it. So that is awesome. Mix these up a little bit, just use my hands. And we need 3 apples. So I need to get these peeled and sliced. All right, we got all 3 of them. Now we just need to chop them up and get them in the mixture. Okay, get these diced up. I'm gonna do pretty tiny dices. That sound means it's time to put our filling in our pecan pies. We're gonna pause on this. Okay, let's pour this right over the top and make sure to not touch that pan, because that pan is hot. And this needs to go back in the oven for 30 more minutes. It's a sizzling. We're gonna just spread it out a little bit. Okay, back into the oven it goes. All right, the pecan pie is now in the oven. And these are fantastic for prep ahead. You can prep them ahead in advance so that they're just ready to go on the day of. Need to get this mixed up. And then this recipe also has a crumb topping that we need to make. We need 2/3 of a cup of flour and 1/3 of a cup, we're gonna eyeball this, 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Then 1/4 cup of butter, which is half of this stick, which part of it's a little melty. We'll mix this in. We're making a mess today. Okay. And how much time do we have? We have about 2 minutes until that crust is ready for us. So that's perfect timing. And then the last one will be pumpkin, which calls for 375 instead of 350. What did this one call for? 350. We might be doing the pumpkin bars at 350 because everything else is in at 350. So these are something that you can pull together really quickly. I mean, you don't need to make all 3 of them. You could just make 1. But I just find these to be super quick, super easy, and super impressive looking. Okay, we are ready for whenever it's ready for us. Okay, our apple crust is ready. Let's pour these over. And I keep thinking about where to put them in my oven because I'm like, okay, the left side cooks more than the right, but then I remember I got a new oven. I don't know what side cooks more than the other, if any side does. So I'm going to evenly pour these apples over the crust. And now I'm trying to think, how am I going to not eat too many sweets today? How am I not going to eat one of each of these? And then our crumble just goes right on top, super simple. And with that, we are already 2 done. Hasn't taken very long at all. You could also do this and use pumpkin pie filling instead of the fresh apples if you happen to have pumpkin pie filling and not fresh apples. Okay. 30 to 35 minutes for this one as well. This next one is the pumpkin pie bars, and I'm so excited about these. These are completely different, and they're making twice as much. So we're going to start off with 3 cups. Ooh, I just put my hand in that butter. We're gonna start off with 3 cups of flour, and the reason I'm not cutting this recipe in half is because it makes exactly like 1 of each can's worth. So I'm gonna use a can of pumpkin and a can of sweetened condensed milk. And what else would I do with the other half? So we're gonna make this full recipe. We also need 2 full sticks of softened butter. These are pretty softened. I also put these in the microwave for just a few seconds because I didn't have them out earlier. They're not as soft as they could be, but they're decently soft. Now this one needs 3/4 cup of brown sugar. I need a 3/4. So my brown sugar, I keep it in the freezer, so it's a little bit frozen right now, but keeping it in the freezer just makes it last so much longer. It'll last forever. So let's see, this is a 1/2 cup measure. And it doesn't dry out in the freezer. Okay, we'll call that part of it. And then that being not packed down so much, we're probably good. This one needs a teaspoon of baking powder, which is completely different, and then a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're gonna add a whole thing of pecans. Do you call them pecans or pecans? I have found that I naturally call them pecans, but I've been reading it in my head as pecans because that's how most people say it. Okay, this is 6 ounces. It called for 8 ounces, but I think that's gonna be plenty. Double check that we're not missing anything. Yep, we're good. Okay, and then the last thing will be the filling, but we're not ready for the filling yet because this one, wait, do we not have to pre-bake this? I didn't read the whole recipe. Usually I don't, but let's see. Mix it, add it until it crumbles. Put it on the bottom, reserve 1.5 cups for topping. Press the remaining dough, set it aside. Add the, assemble, bake. Okay, we are not going to be pre-baking this one, so that works out. Let's get this mixed, and we gotta remember to save some aside. Ooh, maybe I should have softened that butter a little bit more. Okay, last one. Let's grab out a 9 by 11, 8 by 13. What do we call these? 8.5 by 11. I don't know. The sizes of pictures, basically just this. This is what we need. 9 by 13? I don't know. Is that a picture size or is that a casserole size? We're going to spray it. And get most of this in there. But we're going to reserve a good portion. It said, I think, 1.5 cups. looks good. We'll press this down in. I've never done a pumpkin pie with pecans in it, so I'm interested to see how this turns out. I'm imagining this is going to make it even more delicious. And this is basically a pumpkin pie, just you don't have to make a crust, which if you're anything like me, pie crusts and I do not get along. So if you don't get along with pie crust, this is your recipe. Okay. Now we set this aside. For this filling, we need 2 eggs. And this is the same bowl that I used, oh gosh, this is breaking apart all weird. Same bowl I used for the pecans, I just did it a light rinse. I didn't need to completely wash it because a lot of the ingredients are the same. Shell. I'm gonna break up these yolks before I add anything else, mix them around a little bit. A whisk would have been a better choice, but we are where we are. Okay, so we need to add pure pumpkin and sweetened condensed milk. Double check it. Did I got the right thing? Yep, canned pumpkin. Make sure you're not using the pumpkin pie mix because that already has all the everything in it. So let's get this in there. Okay. Oh, this can is not my friend here. Okay, I think we got it. Well, magnetic. Whole thing. Sweetened condensed milk. Hopefully this one doesn't go flying because this would be a big mess. All right, we got it. Well, where'd the cinnamon go? There it is. We need to add some spices. I'm sure you could just add pumpkin pie spice, but I'm going to add some cinnamon, half that amount of nutmeg, or of ginger. Gotta mix up. Not that it really matters. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the spices. And then a little tiny bit of nutmeg. And then we do need to add cornstarch to this, which is different. How much? 3 tablespoons. 1, a whisk, I might need to get a whisk. 2, 3. You could add probably tapioca starch if you want to as well. I decided on cornstarch just because that's what the recipe called for, but also got potato starch and tapioca starch over there. This might turn out okay without a whisk. We're just gonna mix it together, super simple. What makes me question pumpkin pie is how come you can make pumpkin pie with sweetened condensed milk and with evaporated milk, and it works out just fine regardless of the way that you do it? Because one is very thin and one is not. Okay, I want this to be super smooth. So I'm pushing out all the lumps. Okay. That's how easy that was. And this one we didn't have to pre-bake, so on goes the filling, or in goes the filling. This is weird. It's a filling, but I'm putting it on, not in. All right. Technicalities. Okay, filling is on, in or around. Now I'm trying to make it to where the filling is pretty flat, so I'm just kind of jiggling it back and forth, and now we have an even layer. And now I just put the topping on. These are all gonna be so delicious. Now we still have 5 minutes on our pecan bars, 15 minutes on our apple bars, and these are supposed to go in at 375 for about 30 minutes. I'm gonna put them in at 350. I'm gonna just say, probably gonna need a little bit longer time. So if you're wondering how long it took in real time, it's been about 55 minutes since I started, and they are all in the oven. And so it'll be...
But I found these results on search.
Oh, Google. Thank you. So it'll be probably about an hour and a half full from start to finish to get everything done, including the cleanup, and I'll have a little bit of downtime in the middle. So these are super quick and easy, and I'm excited for them. Let's put everything away. Our pies came out of the oven. This was the last one to come out. This is the pumpkin pie one, and they did take a little bit longer. And I think my oven is running a little bit cold because when I went to increase it from 350 to 375, it started preheating from 325 and then went up. So something seemed a little bit off, but here's this one. Looks delicious. The apple pie one, oh wait, backing up. Both of these two took longer than they should have. So I'm thinking that's because the oven is kind of heating low. But the apple pie one, I would actually recommend using apple pie filling, just like the can, which I almost did because I have some, but I thought I'd follow the recipe, which if you know me, I never actually follow the recipe. And if I do, it kind of turns out kind of funny. But I think this would have been better with the apple pie filling rather than the actual like fresh apples, just because there'd be more of the filling goo. And then here is the pecan pie. So once these are cooled down a little bit more, I will cut them up into squares and get them plated. Some of these are completely cooled off. I'm going to cut them into cute little squares and hopefully they stick into a square so I can get them on here. Here we go. Uh-oh. This is for me. Oh, it's good. I still think it'd be better with apple pie filling, but it is delicious. Well, we probably should start a new row. Oh, that's so good. Maybe not. Oh, it's delicious. Oops, that one fell apart. Clearly this one wants me to have it. The pecan pie, let's see if we can get this one out of here. Oh gosh. Hopefully I didn't wait too long. Or maybe I'm not waiting long enough. You know, I've never made a pecan pie before. Or a pecan. Pecan? Pecan. I'm not sure. You know, this one that was very cool came out a lot better. Let them cool down more than I did. Put them in the fridge, I think. Okay, there we go. Cute. Pecan pie is not my favorite. The pumpkin bars cooled off and I was able to get them cut up onto this plate, and now we have all 3 of our bars. These were all so simple to make and they look quite impressive. They're all delicious. I did taste that one so there was a little piece, but this is great. If you're interested in watching how to cook a turkey or how to make the entire Thanksgiving dinner, I will have those coming up soon. If they're already out, they will be linked right here. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.